All right, y'all. Today we're going to take a look at this video from my man Gen. I love his videos. Very, very good stuff he does with his content. Are Gen Z social skills getting worse? We've been talking about this specifically when it comes to dating and relationships, that a lot of young people, let's say under 30, have grown up in the digital world and not the fucking real world. And it is very what's the word I'm looking for? It is very clear when you look at how the two genders interact with each other in the dating sphere, because a lot of guys don't know how to approach women. A lot of young guys specifically don't know how to approach a woman, don't know how to present themselves properly. This is stuff that I've talked about, and I will continue to talk about it because I want to see my young boys actually, find themselves a good woman and get to experience that, be a better man. I know a lot of young men don't have a father figure, don't have a mentor. And so one of the things that's a personal thing for me is to try to give the information to young men so that they can make those kinds of improvements. I didn't have a father, but I was lucky that when I went into the Marine Corps, I found, that the mentors and the male role models from great men I've met in my life that really shaped me into who I am as a man. And so when we look at this video, we're going to see actually this kind of issue with younger men, and probably just in general, specifically Gen Z, with how they interact in the real world, because everyone's so hyper connected on social media and online that we're losing these very important social skills in real life.
Do you think Gen Z is soft?
I think they're very, very, very soft.
We spend less time outside.
They've been born almost in front of a computer.
We're always trying to blame other things rather than blaming ourselves.
Why do you think everyone makes fun of Gen Z?
You can see on the old movies, we had manners and everything.
TikTok is a daredevil. Our brains are dying.
So today I'm out here and the question I'm asking is, are Gen Z social skills declining?
I teach school and I see the declining. No respect for adults.
Wouldn't you say that's like most middle schoolers though?
No, that's high school, and that's a whole generation that's coming up now. No one cares about anybody.
I work for a college. I interact with Gen Z students constantly. I think they're incredibly thoughtful. I think they're incredibly put together. Some of the critiques of Gen Z are actually older generations projecting their own flaws onto the younger folks.
To really characterize it in a more general sense, they're more self-centered. To have social skills, to be gracious, to have poise, and to see the other side, from the other point of view. I think that's really gone downhill.
We spend less time outside. We spend less time talking to other people.
How old are you, by the way?
17.
Definitely Gen Z. How would you define social skills and why is it important?
To talk to people, to maintain conversations.
Get girls.
Get girls, yeah.
That's a social skill right there. Yeah, right there. That's a good one.
That's what good social skills can get you.
Yes, exactly.
They're good socializing in social media. They are more shy in real life, but I don't think that counts as bad.
If I look at my son, who's 18, his interaction with people is related to games more than anything else.
You think he was farther behind in social skills than when you were at 18?
Yes, they've been, as I said, in front of computers and cell phones and whatever all their life.
They get their feelings hurt really easy. So if they go on social media and they post something, you don't get likes, they get their feelings hurt. So now they just isolate themselves. They go on TikTok and that's much easier.
You'd be surprised. There's a lot of online communities, and now obviously with social media, right? You're actually able to probably meet people all around the world that you couldn't. Isn't that also like a form of communication?
Yeah, but there's nothing like face-to-face. If everything becomes virtual, where are we heading?
That's so important, y'all, because you can talk through the internet all day long, online apps, FaceTime, text messages, whatever. But there's inherently a difference when you communicate with someone in the flesh, person to person. There's these body cues that we give off. There's obviously pheromones and hormones that exude us that we get filled up with depending on the interaction. These are those things, those intricacies, especially when you talk about potentially dating someone, or you're trying to court someone or pursue someone, that are indicators. And we got a generation now so far detached from that. Their extent of interactions via some kind of medium, that is a very important loss and contributes to a lot of this issue.
Because nowadays it feels like everyone's blaming Gen Z for all their problems.
Those people who are 26 and younger tend to be the most challenging.
Wait, by the way, how many of y'all in chat right now are Gen Zers, right? I think Gen Zers are under 30. Real quick, how many of y'all are like under 30? Keep it a buck. Just put a one in chat or me or something. Don't be shy either. Some of y'all are like, oh shit, I want to admit this. This is me. Sugar's okay. All right. Whether virtual or reality, whichever you give more time to, lose the skills than the other. It's all about balance, though. Jeremiah 32, not me. Okay, I'm not. Okay, you're lying. King 18, under 30. Okay, I am. So we got a couple of people under 30. Okay. All right, let's continue.
To work with.
The worst generation of all time.
A lack of effort and a lack of motivation.
And despite being more connected, we're also lonelier than ever.
Tonight, I'm extra lonely.
The younger you are, the lonelier you might be.
But even though social media is always mentioned as the root of all evil, I knew that was just the surface. And as someone on the cusp of Gen Z and millennial, I wanted to explore from both sides whether Gen Z deserves to be called the worst generation ever. And so is Gen Z really losing social skills, or are we witnessing a redefinition of social interaction? And is all this hate on Gen Z just older generations' fear of being left behind? I guess we gon' see. Do you think Gen Z takes less or more risks compared to your generation?
Why would you want to be an adult earlier in the sense of have a family and stuff? I don't begrudge people in their 20s and early 30s who want to enjoy life. But you have to understand that's a luxury that you have. Yeah. It's a luxury my parents and their generation did not have.
Probably more risk. You know, there's so many opportunities right now, so many things that they can look at as far as jobs are concerned, as far as travel is concerned.
I'd say less because we're less outside. We don't have as much opportunities to mess up.
What do you mean by that? Less opportunities to mess up?
If you're more inside, right, you won't jump on a shopping cart and do weird stuff on a shopping cart because you're in your house, you're in your bed.
That's jackass.
Right?
Damn it, Gen Z, you're not helping your case. So now I want to challenge the older generations to at least view Gen Z from a different lens. What unique challenges do you think Gen Z faces that your generation did not?
I think life as a young person is more difficult. The pressures on life, and even with all the technology around you, it has not made your actual life easier.
They've been born almost in front of a computer. They're not used to physical work. That's a big issue.
COVID, it's made people weary of people, and so they face the isolation.
So do you think that Gen Z is living in more of a environment of distrust compared to previous generations?
Absolutely.
And the pandemic of the last 3 years is a better case study than anything of the unique challenge encountered by a rising generation.
Fast-breaking developments in the coronavirus emergency in the U.S.
Stay at home, that is the order tonight.
I ain't gonna lie, 2020, when we had those 2 years when we were locked down, really did something to our society. I promise you, because prior to 2020, I was not seeing all these podcasters talking about dating. I wasn't seeing all of these cultural and gender wars. It was almost as if we all got so stuffed up on the, being cooped up inside that we all just let out all of our built up frustration and anger, and it's just been spilling out ever since. I swear to God, things have changed since 2020. I don't know who else feels it or recognizes it and sees it, but I swear to you, I've noticed it 100%.
Is a global pandemic. Stay home.
The disruptions to daily routines during their formative years resulted in 72% of US teens reporting increased loneliness and had a profound impact on the social skills of Gen Z.
I remember crying every night and not knowing what was going on, and I felt so alone.
Remote work and online classes severely limited the opportunity to develop skills like teamwork, as group work became less accessible. And as social isolation limited access to social networks known to be coping mechanisms of stress and anxiety, Gen Z was in higher risk for burnout and further seclusion.
Why am I having so many mental breakdowns? Online school is giving me more stress than regular school did.
But on the other hand, it also led to more opportunities to take initiative. Instead of real life. How many?
Yes. Video's called Are Gen Z Social Skills Getting Worse?
Hours a day do you spend on your phone?
I think like 10 hours.
Too much, like 5 hours maybe.
So 3 hours and 21 minutes, okay.
5:32.
What do you think will be like a healthy amount of like screen time for anyone?
Less than like 7.
8 hours is like a full-time job.
Less than an
You're
hour.
not like obsessed with it. You'll be fine.
Okay. Could you go a week without your phone?
Yes, I definitely could.
And so whether it's good or bad, the prevailing trend is towards an increasingly digital world. And for those seeking what's next in their journey of fulfillment instead of what's next on TikTok, but thanks to our sponsor Skillshare, no goal is too small when they take you step by step. When I started this channel 3 years ago, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. But I knew that learning how to edit was crucial to kick for today, and one of the most frequent comments that I get on all my videos is about my editing. But still, not a lot of you may know this, but I'm still not able to do YouTube full time. And so this year, my focus is on taking the business to the next level and diversifying my income by learning the necessary skills to launch and create a successful merch drop. So join me in achieving your goals and be one of the first
All right, we get it. Support them. I like your
special
stuff.
link in description and get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. And so with that, I want to explore further on the impact
What's
of
up,
these
Lou?
challenges on Gen Z. Have these challenges molded resiliency, or has it nurtured a sense of being sheltered? Do you think Gen Z is soft compared to previous generations?
I'll be diplomatic. I'll say perhaps.
I think they're very, very, very soft. I just feel like because of social media, there's so much more easier things to get your dopamine rush rather than like working towards getting your own dopamine rush.
Why do you think everyone makes fun of Gen Z?
Do we make fun of them or are we disgusted with them?
Our humor is kind of like weird.
Kind of cringe, kind of...
Well, I wouldn't say cringe, but it is weird. I feel like it's easy also to like to point the finger on someone else and say, oh, you're weird and everything.
I think we do because I think it's an ego thing. I think we want to leave a legacy. We want to say, oh, I was part of that created the cars. Or I was that created AI. They say the hardest things is to recognize somebody who's doing better than you.
Maybe they're resentful that they're getting older. I think people just genuinely like to pretend that they were smarter and more thoughtful and more well-rounded when they were a younger person.
You know, you can see on the old movies, we had manners and everything. We're in a very polarized, forget about politics, culturally.
We like care a lot more about more stuff like racism, sexism, and boomers are not like open to a lot of those conversations. There's a lot of things in the past that haven't been discussed enough.
For example, the topic of mental health probably wasn't as talked as much in previous generation, but you guys actually handled that, I think, in a better way, or at least, or it's more out in the open.
Before there was so many taboos that like caused insecurities and fears in people, and that.
Yo, listen, I think what it is back in the boomer era, right? If they had a child that wasn't normal, they just kind of kept it moving, like, all right, just figure it out and went forward. And maybe that was kind of a bit of an extreme because they didn't address real issues with children in that era. They just brushed it off as like they're not well or they're just retarded or something like that. But I think now we've gone to the complete opposite end of the spectrum because now everyone's got a fucking mental issue, bro. You know what I mean? Everyone's got something going on. I've got this. I've got that. I got, you know what I mean? Like, what does that say about society? How does everyone have some kind of thing going on with them? Some kind of mental thing? To me, that doesn't sound right, right? Whether it's because of social media, is it because of something in the foods that's making people, you know, you follow what I'm saying here? It's like we've gone to these two extremes. When I was growing up, you know what I'm saying, as an 80s baby, it was just like, yo, I don't know how to explain it. It just wasn't on those spectrums. It was like, all right, if you got something going on, they would address it. But you didn't have the vast amounts of people that are always, you know, falling on, I have some kind of debilitating mental issue that's holding me back from, you know, social anxiety or ADHD or this, that, and the other. I'm not trying to say that there aren't credible cases of it, but it just seems like now everyone's got something. You know what I mean?
That's important to talk about.
And with 13% of US teens experiencing major depressive episodes and underlying...
Look, I get it. Since COVID happened, I understand that a lot of us got into depressive states. There's a difference between being depressed in the moment because of something versus like having a depressive, always being in a depressive state because of there's something wired differently in the brain. You know what I mean? For example, okay, let's say I went to go apply for some job I really wanted, and you go through the process and you think you're going to get it, and then they call you and they tell you, well, we're going to go in a different direction. Yeah, you're probably going to feel a little depressed and sad for the next day or two or whatever else, right? Because something didn't happen that you wanted it to. It's not the same as somebody who has like debilitating, you know, mental health, like real depression because something in their brain isn't wired like the rest of us is. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a lot of cases where people have the former and not the latter, and they try to conflate it. It is the latter.
Being the second leading cause of death among teens, there is a clear mental health crisis.
Ms. K.
Rates of depression and anxiety and suicide going up among young people.
Depression has almost become normalized.
Exactly. He said it perfectly. It's almost become so normalized, which is not good. Everyone can't possibly have a debilitating depression. You know what I mean? Something else is going on here. And I think for me, a lot of it is it's a scapegoat. It's a scapegoat for not addressing other issues, not taking accountability for your life, and using it as a cop-out to just do more of the same. Instead of being like, yo, I'm going to take control of my life. I'm going to take the steps to work through this and address it and progress.
To older generations, Gen Z is a lot more proactive. As reported, 37% of Gen Z sought help from mental health professionals and contributed 42% of all spending on mental health treatment.
Last year, Sydney started a mental health support group for students at her school.
I've done a little bit of EMDR and it's been amazing.
And in line with the preference towards digital options, Gen Z has a 50% higher usage of online therapy apps and even AI. In 2020, the first fully therapeutic AI chatbot, Wobot, was created to provide accessible care to individuals at any time.
Meet Wobot, the friendly little bot who's ready to listen 24/7.
But this exact accessibility also highlighted the concern.
So Doc, do you think this is a good idea?
It certainly can help people who are already in therapy. It's certainly not meant to replace it.
The free nature of the service led users to become overly dependent on its advice, resulting in self-diagnosis and even the application of its strategies to relatives with more severe disorders. So with all that said, why is Gen Z the most depressed generation? Because at first glance, the best advice for anxiety caused by technological isolation or stress from current events is to just close your damn laptop, bro. Considering 91% of Gen Z's main source of stress is related to money, work, and housing, it becomes evident that what used to be more accessible in the past is certainly becoming unattainable. So while older generations may perceive that Gen Z have it easier, it's important to acknowledge that every generation faces its own unique and relatable challenges. And so with all the talk—
That's so true, because you think about the people who lived in the Great Depression, you think about the generation that lived through, what are some other big things that happened? World Wars, you think about things during Vietnam, the Gulf War. These are all points through which those generations had to live through that whole situation, right? 2008 when it had the housing market crash. What year was that? Whatever year that was another thing. COVID was our most recent event that a generation's having to deal with.
Around social media's impacts, it's worth questioning its validity as the root of all evil.
Kind of like the common rhetoric around Gen Z is that you guys are soft. Do you think social media has had an impact on that?
With social media, like if it's not around the same opinion of the norm, people get mad and people get pissed and they—
How are you with handling like disagreements or like opposite views?
If there's something that truly like bothers me, I guess I'll think about it and see, well, is that really an issue with me? If I'm not, then I'm not, and it's like, is there a problem, you know?
Do you think we blame social media too much on problems?
People are so addicted to these things, but they don't actually control their own life. Social media almost does. And so that's why, like, you know, people are softer than ever before today.
I mean, all of us like to be the victim, kind of, you know? We're always trying to blame other things rather than blaming ourselves.
Yeah, because we can go and talk to people if we want.
But of course, there are incentives in life. And if you never had the choice of really interacting with people online, then you would be forced to go out into the real world and try to make meaningful connections. But of course, it's not like a simple equation. There's also multiple factors.
And with Gen Z spending over 5 hours a day in front of screens, they're addicted. But is it—
That's crazy, y'all. You know what I do? Look, I'm gonna show y'all. This is my phone. This is my phone, right? This is my phone that call, text from, and all that stuff. And outside of other couple of productivity apps on here, that's it. Then there's this one. It's just the phone. There's no SIM card in it. It only connects when I'm on Wi-Fi. So at the crib, I can also turn on my hotspot to get on here. This has all the stupid apps on it. I purposely did this to help me not over binge my time on social media, so that one, if I'm like driving around somewhere, I can't just be on my shit looking at stuff. And I pretty much use it to go on, hop in, get in, say what I want to say, post whatever, check messages, whatever, and then hop off of it. It's done a lot for me to get back my time. So the thing is, y'all don't realize when you're on these apps, it's so, and I mean, all of y'all can relate to being on TikTok. You go on there, oh, let me look at a couple of TikToks real quick before I go to bed. 3 hours later, you've managed to scroll through a couple thousand videos. And you're like, oh shit, I gotta get to bed. Like, I've been there. It's happened to me. I'm like, that's how addicting it is. Even for me, and I'm well aware of it, it's even gotten me. So I would say separate the apps from like your main phone to put it on like an iPad, or if you have a burner phone, put it on there. So it helps to give you a chance to separate the two. You know what I mean?
Accurate to blame technology
It's helped
for
out a lot.
declining social.
It's not the porn phone, okay? Listen, you freaks that watch porn on your phones is something else. I don't know how you do it. Listen, when I watch porn, I'm watching it on the goddamn computer monitors that I'm right in front of me right here. I want to see it in 4K, all big on my screen. I don't know how y'all be over here with your little, I'm sorry.
Social skills. On one hand, research has indicated physical effects such as brain shrinkage due to excessive use, which can make information processing more challenging.
Social media use is not harmless. It can actually have a significant negative impact. This can permanently reduce your capacity for concentration.
This is probably why scrolling on TikTok all day.
You chatting shit on social media all the time. What are you doing now? Sorry, bro. Talking facts. You need to articulate that better, brother. If you're gonna ask me a question, you want me to answer, because that was worded quite honestly like shit.
Instead of watching my videos is why you're so damn stupid.
So
but looking at the other side, research shows that apart from children who excessively game and go on social media, there is no evidence suggesting poorer face-to-face social skills when compared to children with limited screen exposure. And along those lines, to also consider that sociability is only one aspect of a person's development, and that abilities like resilience and self-awareness are just as important. And especially when we even consider anomalies like Amber Yang, who even surpassed NASA's models for creating an AI program for satellite safety, it serves as evidence that a digital first generation has even greater potential for innovation. And so it's clear that it's not as easy as technology equals bad, because on one hand, technology has empowered Gen Z to communicate without limitations, and on the other hand, that very same technology has isolated them and hindered human contact essential for experiencing empathy, belonging, and love. And as our society continues to embrace the metaverse and AI, the world is only going to become more digital. And so should our definition of social skills be limited to physical interactions, or should our perception of community be reimagined?
So when they got someone said it's gonna get worse when the Apple goggles come out. First of all, those look great. I ain't gonna lie. That's a whole computer on your head. I mean, the price tag was pretty ridiculous on top of that. Maybe, just maybe, they rethink that pricing, because a lot of people that rubbed them the wrong way. That being said, that would, how many of y'all saw the Minority Report with Tom Cruise? Remember that movie where, it's almost kind of like that, which it's cool in one way. I think like anything else, y'all, it's all about moderation. It's all about balance, man. The more you can find a balance in your life, with managing your social media, with managing your real life interactions, get outside, touch grass, go interact with people. If you can find a balance, you'll be all right. The problem is right now is a lot of people don't have any kind of a balance, and they're way too deep on one thing. And in this case, tends to be social media usage and stuff like that, to the point where they develop no social skills. They get social anxiety, but they're comfortable getting in front of a camera on their TikTok where they have millions of followers and communicating that way. It's a very weird dynamic. I'm gonna tell y'all, I've met so many different creators that are, on stream or whatever, they appear one way, and I've met them and like, they are so fucking awkward. They're so awkward. You know what I mean? Because they don't have those social skills in person. They're very nervous, anxious. They're uncomfortable being in a social setting. Half of these people could never get on the stage in front of thousands of people to introduce an artist or, you know, entertain a crowd in between artist sets and stuff like that. These are all things I've done, right? Like, you know, I'm fortunate enough that I've straddled both sides and all that stuff, but it's super important. What I said, we always online. Don't say two phones help you. You can't keep it away. The point of having the two phones, though, maybe you didn't understand. Let me clarify. Is this phone has all the apps. These are where you're going to spend your time on: Instagram, Threads, Twitter, TikTok. All of this is on this phone, but it's not connected. There's no SIM card, and I can only connect to it when I'm on Wi-Fi. It means I have to turn on my hotspot on my other phone, or I have to be like at the crib or on some Wi-Fi. My main phone just has text. It's got my contacts, right? Like it's all of that. No, I'm not getting notifications from whatever apps to check them and all that stuff. So it helps in that I could put this off somewhere else when I don't need it, and I could check it when I want to and not let it control me. That was my point. I love being outside right now. That's why I've been outside. Moon, let me see your hands again. Why do you want to see my hands again?
Do you think social media has helped create community or destroyed community?
It's a lot harder to find a community in real life. People are a lot more judgmental IRL.
Are you a part of like online communities?
I like a lot of music, and a lot of that is online, and I really love the community online.
2020 brought a lot of people together, and there was a large-scale conversation about what racism looks like. But we can also see political parties are increasingly fringe and increasingly disparate.
TikTok is a daredevil. We've had middle schoolers that go in the bathrooms and could go on TikTok and then, oh, we're going to do this. They will tear down bathrooms and things like that. Our brains are dying.
TikTok is kind of making everyone the same. Trends blow up on TikTok, so people start saying like sayings that they see on TikTok. Little opinions kind of infiltrate them.
If you look at my pants and my shoes, that's something that comes from TikTok. People are less unique. Not being unique also creates like a community. Like
that's an interesting thought, yeah, because in a way, like if you're not unique, it's probably easier to create a community, right? So are you a bot?
I might be an NPC. You never know.
Jesus
Wouldn't you
Christ.
say then that like with this new innovations in technology, it's actually maybe even innovating what communication once was?
There's no frontiers. Even if you don't speak their language, you can use translating. Gen Z are probably more open-minded than the kids when I was a young adult or an adolescent.
But as Gen Z enters the real world, has this open-mindedness to opportunities led to success? Because traditionally, schools and workplaces have provided connected, shared experiences for young adults in previous generations. But these organizations no longer serve that purpose for Gen Z. Compared to 40% of baby boomers that have workplace friends, only 24% of Gen Z can say the same.
It's been a long, tiring day staring at a screen all day, not being able to meet friends and socialize with people.
The lockdowns that restricted in-person work and education had a significant impact on Gen Z's ability to sustain friends and make new ones.
What do you think the pandemic took from young people? It took away the spirit of being young.
But can we just blame the lockdowns? Compared to previous generations, the self-reliant nature of technology has made Gen Z more inclined towards individual work and communication.
They're not as in tuned or in need of that social interaction, but the problem with that is you lose that skill.
And when the next generation is more comfortable being alone and remote, it's clear that it'll have an impact on the sense of community. And so I wanted to ask each generation this question. How many friends do you have?
True friends? Probably 5.
Depending on your definition of friends, it might vary between 1 and 50.
Around like a dozen.
Close friends, I have like 10.
A lot. A couple dozen at least, I'd say.
I don't think I have more than 2 good friends, real friends.
What would you consider a true friend?
By the way, guys are tending men will tend to have far less than women. We usually got just a handful of the homies. You know what I mean? Like real homies. Everybody else is an associate.
Friend is going to be somebody that's going to give you the things you want to hear and the things you don't want to hear. And that's simply the truth.
Yeah, because I hated this interview. So.
Me too.
I've got a couple of online friends. One that lives in Morocco. My best friend lives in New York.
And you've never met them in person?
I've never met them, but
that's
one of my
fucking
closest friends
weird.
ever. Online, you can be more open with someone and they understand you more. And I guess that's what makes it a true friendship.
Yo, it's sad that she literally just said out of her mouth that she has more true friends and that are better friends online than in real life. You see what I'm saying? The logic in that shit is weird.
Do you think that you're able to cultivate true friendships through online?
You're only able to know who someone is when you see them interacting, not
Exactly.
only with you, but with other people.
I guess
in real life, you see all the quirks about them, their mannerisms. These are visible cues that we take when you interact with somebody in the flesh. So for someone to just have a strictly, man, that's so problematic. She don't even realize it. Poor girl.
You can always create a persona online, right?
Exactly.
So whether good or bad, what a community looks like and means has evolved. Today, 51% of Gen Z is friends with someone they only know online and have never met in person. And with popular apps like Bumble BFF and online communities like Facebook and Discord groups, link in description, it's easier than ever to find like-minded people from all over the world. But when only around half of Americans have meaningful in-person interactions on a daily basis, what direction are we headed towards due to this social media-driven era? And as it always has been, it's time we let the older generations fulfill their collective duty to impart their wisdom. What advice would you give to someone who is struggling with social skills?
Time is your friend. Get older and older, you're a little more confident, a little more assertive. Just it's a function of age and time, if nothing else.
Digest information and stories that are not stuff you're familiar with, engaging with other communities and thinking critically about other communities and just how other people in the world exist.
Eat some mushroom.
Go outside, talk to people, have fun.
Start interviewing people on the street.
That's how you should, yeah. And
say yes to street interviews and also do street interviews.
Yeah.
And so obviously I'm not suggesting that becoming a creator is the solution to your social skills, but rather to consider a different perspective. The pace of change is accelerating, and the traditional approaches to doing things is being reimagined. For years, in-person human interactions have played a role in learning in various activities, but even that's changing. Whether better or worse, gone are the days where daily visits to the newspaper stand or long conversations with colleagues at work was necessary to feel a sense of belonging. And what I realized is that the hate on Gen Z stems from the fear of every generation and their legacy of being left behind and forgotten. But it's only those that embrace change that will start to see the opportunities.
We need to stop treating social media like a luxury item and start thinking about it as something like a tool that we're all going to have our hands on, and we need to know how to use it. We need to know how to think critically when we're engaging with it.
It's for the first time in history, we're living in an era that we can network at scale. And it's exactly how I was able to meet the closest people in my life. From my girlfriend in Brazil that I met through this video, to my business manager in Montreal through that video, to my creative director Dylan in Dallas who reached out after this video, and even Didi in Germany who's editing this. Say what's up, Didi.
What's up?
We're living in an era of unprecedented opportunities. And if previous generations have overcome challenges far more difficult than this one, then why can't the dumb, soft Gen Z figure this one out on their own? Because it's only those who are most comfortable with change that can liberate themselves from the shackles of the past. And that's exactly the mission, to explore the unfamiliar. And with that, thanks to our sponsor Skillshare for helping us explore the first installment in our series.
Jen, he's got some good ass videos. This guy's gonna pop off to like 1 mil subs soon. He's already a quarter mil, a little over quarter mil. So kind of like at the end of what he said here, I don't know that it's about older people thinking like it's going to forget their legacy. I think it's just more about preserving our humanity. We're heading in a direction where everything is AI, bots, automation, and the more of that comes into the fold, the less and less I believe our humanity, we lose some as that comes forward. We're not interacting as much in person, and you have the capability of losing these skills in our humanity. So that to me is what sticks out about this video. Really tells a tale of what's going on right now and what's going to be happening. You know what I mean? So it's pretty crazy.